My first month was like 24,000, and it blew my mind. I'm like, I got a 6-figure job and I just made 24,000 in 1 month. And from that point, it's just been up from there.
Welcome to another episode of the Traffic Sales and Profit Show. I'm your host, Lamar Tyler, and if you're a Black entrepreneur looking for ways to grow your business or grow wealth, you're in the right spot. And today, this is a great conversation if you're trying to figure out how I can work my 9 to 5 and become a multi-millionaire in these streets. I got my man, Jeff Austin, aka Plant-Based Jeff, in the house. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm happy to be here.
Man, excited to have you here, especially because I've literally seen you grow this business brick by brick by brick, right? Or bag by bag by bag of sea moss around the way. And if you guys don't know, Jeff has built an empire around sea moss.
Yes.
Right? And I know you learned a lot of lessons along the way, but what's interesting is you learned all these lessons while also having a high level job.
Yes.
So can we talk about that?
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that. Like I said, I have a 9 to 5. A lot of people think you can't do it, but you can do it. I tell everybody it's all about the discipline. You know, you got to manage it. And also it depends on what type of job you have. If you are somewhere and you're hands-on and stuff, you can't, be working the front line of a food place and say, hey, let me run back here and do my online business. You got to kind of know the type of career that you have and if you can manage both.
That's good. All right. So before we jump all the way into it, let's talk about how you got into the business part of it. Like, how did you start selling the sea moss? Was it you were using it first and saw a transformation and said, I want to share with other people? Was it a business opportunity you saw? Like, how did you get into the sea moss business?
So I got into sea moss by really my own personal health journey. I got a bad doctor's report. They were telling me, hey, you're probably this close to a heart attack. Bad numbers all across the boards with my lipid panels, my blood work. I was in bad shape. I was overweight. I was on 8 different medications, and I was looking for a way to reverse all of this. I was like, hey, I don't want to be on medications forever for the rest of my life. And I started YouTube and Google and everywhere just looking for a solution. And then one of my cousins, he told me, hey, Jeff, I went vegan and I was taking this stuff called sea moss. I'm vegan now. You should really check it out, because he had MS and he said, hey, I've reversed this by changing my lifestyle. I was like, what? And this is one of my family members. So I was like, okay, if he did it, let me try it out. So it worked. 30 days later, I'm dropping weight. 3 months later, I'm still dropping weight. So I'm getting down to the ideal size where I want to be. The medication, they are dropping off. I'm having more energy. I'm feeling like Superman. I'm feeling like, man, I've reversed the clock of aging, all of this stuff. And so I started, everybody was watching me. I love social media. I was just vlogging the whole thing. I was showing everybody on Facebook, on Instagram. I was just showing them, hey, this is what I'm eating today. This is how I'm doing it. I'm taking this stuff called sea moss that the conscious community put me on to. So everybody was like, what's sea moss? Because the people in the conscious community already knew what it was. But for mainstream people in corporate and whatnot, they heard about it, but they didn't know anybody that was using it. So I was always using it in my videos, and people started asking me, hey, where can I get this stuff? Where can I get it? How do you make it? I was like, okay, I can make it. I know how to make it. I get it from this place over here. People were like, no, we want it already made. We want the gel. Like, let me start making the gel. And I started whipping up batches of sea moss gel, and I started taking it to work. And I would sell out at work. I would have people come and meet me at work that were in the downtown Atlanta area. They were like, hey man, Jeff has sea moss. And I was like, man, I'm making $200-300 a day. And I was like, okay, I can do something with this. But it really took off. That was at the end of towards 2019, and then COVID hit. And then it just skyrocketed from there because people were looking for more natural options.
They wanted to be healthier. They wanted to boost immunity.
All of that
type of stuff.
All of that. So it was a perfect fit. And so it was prime time for my business, and it took off. I was like, it was I was like, this is a real business. Like when I saw my first month was like 24,000, and it blew my mind. I'm like, I got a 6-figure job and I just made 24,000 in 1 month. And from that point, it's just been up from there.
Okay, I love it. So let's dissect this a little bit.
Hmm.
So you talked about a few things, right? But let's get. I know somebody's listening. I still don't understand what the CMOS thing is.
Right.
So before
Right.
we go further
Got it.
with the CMOS, because you talked about even being in jail. So naturally, in its natural form, like what would you compare it to if somebody had never seen it before?
If they never seen it before, it would be similar to almost like a seaweed. Like if the seaweed dried up, it's a little bit thicker,
Yeah.
but it's in the same seaweed algae family. So it's a dried form. It's harvested from all over the world. So we get ours from St. Lucia. And so what they do is they harvest it from the sea, they clean it off, they let it dry out, and then what they do, they package it up, and then they send it over here to the States. From that point, we take it, we clean it again, we disinfect it. We have a natural preservative that we put in ours to make it safe. And then we turn it into a gel, and then we sell it from that point. But we sell it in a dried form, we sell it in a capsule form, and we also have the gummy form as well.
I love it. So kind of people can get it however they like. And I know that
Exactly.
probably was like a learning process for you, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I had to figure out this whole preservative, working with food scientists, working with these local divers. It's a whole business. People don't realize this. It's not like the mom and pop. A lot of people think it's a mom and pop operation, but if you really want to scale to the next level, be FDA compliant, I had to hire consultants from that to learn about that process. What do we put on the jars? Where do we put the expiration date? You know, we had to put all of this information to be FDA compliant so that we don't get any flack from them.
Now tell me about this, because the product that you sell, like you said, it's already a community that have already been using it, already been selling it. But you kind of take it, you brand it, right? Very strong
Right.
brand, and you sell it to a mainstream. Do you ever have
Right.
like pushback from the community of people that already say, "Hey, like we've been doing this, we've been selling that"?
All the time.
Really?
All the time.
What
All
is
the
that? What is
time.
that? That sound like?
I've gotten pushback from a variety of people. A lot of people, like for instance, Dr. Sabi, I feel like he made it known among our community. And I had members of his family to reach out to me personally, like, hey, we don't like what you're doing. You're just all about money. I'm like, you don't even know my mission. And, you know, I'm really out here trying to help people. And people think, yes, it is a business, but I got into it because of my story. I'm from Mississippi, so, you know, health is not the highest priority. So my thing was, let me be the example. Let me be the one to go vegan, lose this weight, get off the medication, and let me go help my people. Because my whole concern was my immediate family, my mom, my dad, my sister, to help them to get their health in order. And it just kind of grew from that. So when people understand the mission, they know where I'm coming from. I get flack all the time. I get the comments, the trolls. Oh, he's just about money. His CMOS is fake. And you have so many people in the community, they focus so much on the debate, you know,
Yeah.
fake versus real CMOS. And this is no such thing. It's just low quality and people trying to boost up their brand that they're selling. So if I can talk down on yours and say, hey, here's this fake, he grows it in a bathtub. I've heard it all, you know, and I just keep pushing because I can't pay attention to that because I know my purpose is here to serve people on a greater scale and to serve the people that don't normally come into the holistic spots in Atlanta and stuff. They don't know about all of these different herbs and stuff. So that's my mission.
I love it. I mean, so many nuggets just in that piece, right?
Right.
Kind of looking beyond the naysayers, not letting people, the trolls and the people that leave comments,
Exactly.
bring you down and pull you down to the level with them. You talked about, you know, having a bigger mission.
Right.
And knowing that, hey, you know, regardless of everybody say, I know what my mission is.
Right.
And using that mission kind of as your North Star to say, hey, I'm going to follow the mission because I know I want to impact these people's lives and their health. And this is the vehicle that did it for me. So I wanted to do it for you too.
Exactly.
Oh, so many nuggets, so many nuggets. So let's go back with building this brand and building the business around CMOS.
Right.
So you're selling something that, like I said, a community you've been selling, but you're taking it more mainstream to impact more people. As you're selling, would you say some of the biggest lessons you learned about sales during this time? Because I would assume, like, I mean, things took off quickly, but it still had to be some bumps and bruises along the way.
Right. It has. The biggest things I've learned about sales is, hey, you got to be in tune with your customer. And that's what I learned. The people wanted something that was legit. They wanted to be educated. So my whole platform really blew up off the education about sea moss and going plant-based. So that's why a lot of people gravitate towards me, because a lot of people in this space, they only say, hey, I got sea moss for sale. I got sea moss for sale. And they use these templates that they use, all of these screenshots and these memes. Everybody's using the same stuff. So with me, it's all original content. It's all my twist, a mix between education and entertainment, making it funny, but also educating. And so I'm able to tap into my audience more and listen to them. And another thing I learned about sales is you got to map their journey for them. You got to grab them by the hand and say, here we go. And I do that through social media. I do that through email sequences. I do that through SMS sequences, live events. All of these things I do to map their journey, because I know where they're trying to go. And I'm that person to help them that say, hey, I'm gonna hold you by the hand and give you all the resources along the way. So mapping that customer journey has been key for me, and what separates me from the average person that says, hey, I got CMOS for sale.
So back to the job and working this business, because like you've grown it, you boosted it up to then go from zero to hundreds of thousands of dollars a year that you're doing through CMOS. When we look at that, like how was that growing in lockstep with you actually doing a 9 to 5 every day?
Right.
Like is it, because I'm assuming there's got to be times when work is hectic, work is stressful, and then it got to be times vice versa where the business is hectic, the business is stressful. How do you kind of balance and manage both?
Well, I think the first thing is to switch your mindset. So the first thing when I started to really grow, I had to realize that I was a CEO and I wasn't an employee. In my mind, I'm a consultant. I'm consulting for a major corporate firm, but I'm a CEO as well. So when I shifted my mindset from that employee mindset, I didn't get caught up in the water cooler conversations and all of that. And then a lot of times we were working from home. Like, I've been in the office probably 3-4 times in the past 3 years since the pandemic hit. So that helped out a lot. That helped out a lot, because now I'm saving time. Instead of most people have an hour and a half commute is average in Atlanta, back and forth. That's 3 hours that I now have that I can be productive in my business. I can wake up earlier, exercise, work on my business, reach out to my team, and do everything I need to do. But it's all about discipline and the mindset, because I realize, hey, I'm a CEO. I do have a job and I'm consulting but when I switched the mindset, it was much easier, because then I could get the team to help me here, but also show up in excellence at work. That's the thing a lot of people don't do.
And I won't talk about that part.
Right.
Because what we often talk about, this is interesting in the Traffic Sales and Profit Facebook group. If you're not a member, you need to get in there and join. But from time to time, I hear people talk about, hey, I'm working this job and that. I got 3 different jobs.
Right.
I'm doing the bad minimum of this and bad minimum of that.
No.
And the thing that strikes me, one of the things I often say is, well, with this business you're trying to grow, at some point you need employees.
Exactly.
And is this how you want your employees to operate?
Right.
A, but then the second thing I always think about, Jeff, is that most of the people I know that are A players in business were A players, period. So when they work for somebody, they weren't slackers.
You can be.
in D level, team members wherever they work corporate.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden they start a business and they're gonna be A people are A people all the way across the board.
Right.
And I love what you said, like they're showing up in excellence part and doing what you need to do on both ends of the stick.
How you show up, one place is how you show up everywhere. So like you said, if you're a slacker over here, you're gonna be a slacker in your business. So I made sure that, hey, when I show up, I got that laptop up, I'm answering messages, I'm on point. A lot of times people, they get caught up in trying to do too many things. I got the business, I got work. But I know, hey, this is my number one investor over here, so I got to keep them happy. So I'm making sure I'm not missing meetings. I'm replying quickly to things, but I'm also being thorough and paying attention to everything, because you can kind of get caught up when you're working from home. Some people, They logged into the meeting and then they're doing something else. No, I actually pay attention to what's going on.
So you being present. Like when you're
Yeah.
supposed to be locked in, you locked in.
When I'm supposed to be locked in, I'm locked in. Because that way I know what's going on. And I know this thing that I got over here, my business is a whole separate entity, but I find little spots in the day and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm got in the meetings. I'm caught up on everything. Let me switch over here to my Slack channel. Let me check on my VAs. Let me check on my marketing manager. Let me check on my fulfillment center. Let me check on some of these things to just see where they are. But
good.
that was a part of building systems too. A lot of people don't do that. It's hard to be a solopreneur and an employee because now you're doing everything. The only way that I have really been able to scale is to put in systems, processes, teams, all of that helps. And now I'm just at the point I'm quarterbacking and being, the face of the brand.
That's good. That's good. So what are your thoughts? Because a lot of times, what they call it now, right? Twitter LLC.
Right.
Twitter LLC, the notion in common is that you should never work for somebody. You should quit your job. You should run out. But you're saying it's interesting because you got like a whole different other spin. You like, hey, I'm going to keep my primary investor as long as I can.
Yeah.
Fuel and funnel. And also, I'm imagining that's taking some of the stress off of the business because the business doesn't have to support you and feed you and take care of you and your kids and your mortgage and all the things like that.
Right. And I tell people I stepped out there before without a strategy. It's all about having a strategy. Am I going to chitter the defense forever? No, that's not the plan, but I have a plan. And I know some people just jumped out there and made it work, but I actually have a plan because there's a lot of things that you can leverage while you're an employee. For one is buying a home. Like I recently bought a home. So instead of me trying to gather all the business documents and taxes and stuff, I just went,
Well, let me tell you
it's
this.
a lot.
Let me tell you this. That joint is way different when you got them. Just usually all you got to do is bring your pay stubs in.
Exactly.
And versus you, hey, let me see like 2 or 3 years your tax returns.
It's a lot.
And your profit and loss statement and your balance sheet and your this and your that.
All of that. So it made it easier. And a friend of mine in the TSP community, he told me, he said, Jeff, hold on to that job for a minute until you buy that house. And it made it easier. And also I'm helping it to leverage me as I go further. I'm looking for a commercial building now. And guess what? They want to see personal income and tax statements. They want to see the business so we can combine it. And it'll make it easier for me to even buy a building. So my strategy is to rack up assets while I have a W-2. So I can get my commercial building, I can get my home, I can get a few cars. That way, when I make the transition, I got some cash flowing assets. I can say, hey, this takes care of everything now. So that's my strategy. But some people, you just jump out there. I've jumped out there before and had to jump back in. so, I jumped out too fast. It's just like, I was double dutching and I thought I was doing something. I looked around and got tripped up. And so I got tripped up. I fell on my face. I ran out of money. I was like, man, I got to go back to work. But that's because I didn't have a plan. I came out, hey, I'm going to be a real estate investor out here in Atlanta. I had these big dreams and got with the wrong people with the wrong information. And that's key too. Who are you surrounded with
let's talk about that.
outside of work? And see, lucky for me, I got tapped into the TSP community and I got around like-minded individuals that now my whole world changed outside of work. I wasn't taking the same Bahamas and Jamaica vacations everybody take from. I was going to conferences on my vacations. I utilized my vacation time to improve myself as a CEO.
Hold up. That could be another nugget for people, balancing the both. So you say, hey, you know what? I'm working my 9 to 5. I got a certain amount of vacation. But you say I have a shift where I go from using all those vacations to be on the beach or be at the pool to, hey, I'm educating my mind. Because again, it sounds like it's part of the plan.
Right.
If you're a 6 or 7-figure entrepreneur, a black business owner, and you don't know where to go, if you feel like you're alone, if you feel like you don't have anyone to talk to that gets how you feel or gets the pressures of being a business owner in today's climate, guess what we do? I want to introduce you to the Traffic Sales and Profit Mastermind. Now in the TSP Mastermind, we have a 12-month program that's going to help you reach your next 6, 7, or 8 figures in business over the course of a year. Now along that year, we have one-on-one coaching, we have accountability, we have community, We have live events and everything you need in order to reach the next level. For more information, visit us at www.trafficsalesandprofit.com.
These past 3 years has been strictly personal growth, because what happens is I find fun in the personal growth. So like say if we do a retreat or something and it's a conference, I get the nuggets, but I also get a chance to hang out too. I get a chance to go on the beach and do all of this stuff, but I get a chance to put something in my mind to take back to improve my business, but as well as my personal life. So you got to just reframe things. Like, just don't take vacations to take them. All my vacations are money making vacations. Everywhere I go to South America in February. Hey, we're planning a retreat. I'm going to have fun where I go over there, because I'm going to simulate the whole retreat. So I'm going to go through places for a whole week of what I'm going to bring people over there to do. That's fun.
Yeah.
But quote unquote, it's a business trip. So when you do what you love and you're passionate about it, it don't even feel like work. So these conferences, I love them. I love to see my people. I love to see people who think like me. And I pulled a few people from my corporate job into the community as well. They've joined some of the groups and masterminds and whatnot because they see the value. They see
And they probably see your growth. I'm about to say, they see your growth, because the people sitting beside you, we spend a lot of time with the people that we work with.
Right.
So the people sitting beside you, they can notice something different in you.
Exactly.
And they say, this ain't the same dude that was here a couple years ago. Like something has shifted. And I would imagine they start to have different conversations with you.
Yeah, my conversation is different. I'm giving them advice on stuff. I'm hearing these things about, because the biggest regret I see in corporate America are people that they didn't pursue their dream. They're like, hey man, I really wanted to do that coffee shop, or I really wanted to do that. And they're kind of lagging this sense of regret. And so like now when I show up to work, I show up with a sense of purpose, because I know my mission and my strategy and my timeline. So when I show up now, I'm in gratitude. I'm happy to be there. I don't have that employee mindset, that water cooler, like everything is wrong. Everything is wrong. It may be, but I'm not going to be around here forever to see it through. Like, I'm here to do what I have to do. But when you know you got a mission and a purpose, it makes everything a much greater. And so I can deal with a lot of the nuances that most people gripe about in corporate America. But I'm like, man, these people are literally paying you to punch a keyboard. Like, when we really think about things, like a lot of people don't have physical jobs these days.
Don't get me going. Don't get me. I told somebody one time, somebody told me, how hard they work.
Right.
I said, on a computer?
On a computer.
On a computer. I said, man,
top.
I said, I rep the DMV. My grandfather from down here in Georgia, my grandmother from South Carolina.
Right.
They did work.
Back-breaking work.
Listen.
Like when you go home, like you felt it.
You listen, and I'm not talking about your wrist hurt or your shoulders from bad posture, right? So when we talk about, we only, some was 1-2 generations max from our parents, our grandparents working in fields, working in farming, working with their hands.
Exactly.
Like construction or manual labor being the only option, right? I tell people all the time, for my grandfather, like, not only did he did so much for our family with only a 7th, 8th grade education because he had to start working. At the same time, he couldn't get other jobs when he moved to Virginia because they wouldn't give black people other jobs, even if you were qualified at that time.
Wow.
So as I tell people, like, how I'm gonna complain?
You can't complain. One of the running jokes that people in the office, they love me and they saw the change is how positive I am about things. Like, they were like, Jeff, you in here like it's no problems. When we were going into work, even before it took off, before the pandemic, my mindset had already changed. And so it's a running joke. I would go beside people and be like, hey, they just paying you to punch the keyboard, right? You're getting 6 figures. I'm like, think about it. And and everybody, and I'm like, wow, you really are. So I got people to start challenging their mindsets and their perspectives on things at work. So I started the whole mindset thing. Like, my corporate job was my perfect training ground for sales, mindset training. I'm testing this out on real people in real time. And they were like, yeah, you're right. And I got the reputation for just being this positive guy. Managers love me. they have no idea. One of the managers, that's my guy, so he knows everything, and he kind of gives me strategic corporate advice. He's like, "Hey Jim, now you're gonna be working over there. Now you may." He said, "I know what you got going over here. I advise you to go." So it's good to have people in your corner that kind of strategically guide you, because it's some management positions. And I tell people who are looking to manage both, don't get into something that's just requiring too much on the corporate side and think you're about to grow this, because it's really hard to serve two masters. But if I'm in,
and like you said, you want to show up in excellence.
You want to show up in excellence. Yeah. And so I volunteered to kind of step down from a position and say, hey, I want to be an individual contributor. That's the corporate slang for I don't have employees, but I'm still getting my bread.
Hold up. So this is good, right? Because let's dive into this. So you, right? Because this is another option I don't think people think about. You had the option to, ascend in the company higher.
Yeah.
You had the option to say, hey, because the company's big enough, you could say at any time,
exactly.
Hey, I want to do the company full time. I think a lot of times people think it's either stay or go. But what you said is hey, in order to still do both, I'll take a position
exactly
with less responsibility,
right.
So it still gives me the time to do the other pieces. I think that's something that most people don't actually think about.
They missed it. They want to get the most money in corporate and then think you're about to maximize in your business. It's going to be hard. But the choices that I decided to step down from, it would have been a difference in 15 grand a year. But it makes it look good on paper in corporate, because you're like, man, you could be making 135, or I can take this 120 and run this $1 million business.
But
I'll take that all the time.
It's about having a goal and a concrete plan, because if you don't have a plan, everything sounds good.
Exactly.
But when you got that plan, then you can get strategic about what are the strategic steps that lead me to what the final goal is.
Right, exactly.
All right, so I got another question for you about corporate. In corporate, working a job, what are some things that you've learned that have benefited you've been able to transfer back to the business? Because that's one of the things I always tell people. I don't think people really leverage 9 to 5s correctly, because I tell people all the time, like, a lot of what I've learned about leadership, what I've learned about working with other people, what I've learned about getting stuff done, right?
Exactly.
Comes from the jobs. But it was me paying attention, again, not just being there to be there, right? But me being paying attention and being open and taking in everything I saw around me. And then now I see me, I may be running a meeting and I'm thinking in my head, like, man, I run that because I saw the GM at the TV station run it. I see like Trace's fingerprints, right, of those meetings I sat in every morning to start it, like in my meetings I do today.
Yeah, I would tell people, man, your job is the perfect training grounds for career development and your development as an entrepreneur. A lot of the things I take from corporate, for one, is holding meetings, meeting with my team on a regular basis. I got that from corporate. Also, corporate helped me to sharpen up my soft skills as well, because in corporate, you got to talk a certain way.
Yeah.
You got to talk a certain way, and, you don't want to offend people. You want to play this, this whole political game while you're there, and you got to be good with your words. So helping me to get that information from corporate on my soft skills has transferred over to my business.
Because some entrepreneurs are
wilding because they don't have
nobody.
They don't, because they've never been in an environment that forced you to comply and say, hey, you can't come in here cussing and all of this stuff. You got to go a certain way. So I take a lot of that structure and just roll that over into the business. And also another thing that I see a lot in corporate is about budgeting. Like, it's not like willy-nilly. They are looking at the numbers. I'm in the business office in my current role, and we look at numbers and we are projecting. We are doing all of that. So I take that same stuff and be like, hey, I need to do this for Plant-Based Jeff as well. So I get a lot of things from corporate. People take that for granted. It's like a paid internship.
And what you just struck something in me that I never thought, because a lot of times I think about often, right, all the benefits, things I learned, in other places of employment that I bring to my own business. But one of the things that I never thought about that you just said was my communication style and being able to communicate to different people. Because how I would translate, my background's IT, right? So I translate it is like I could talk to anybody.
Right.
So I could explain stuff to people. I could break stuff down to people, no matter who they were. But then I had friendships and could develop relationships with I could be, we down in the mail room. I'm talking to the cats in the mail room
Right.
about the games last night.
Right.
We shooting the breeze, we talking trash,
Right.
going back and forth, whatever. Then I go up and have a meeting with the CEO and go over this budget, multi-million-dollar budget for, equipment, transitions we got, projects we got, different things we got going on. Then I can go and talk to people in the newsroom, or, I did a lot of federal government contracts, go talk to these GS 15s and 16s and head of this and chief of that, right? But having these different conversations. But then I realized that a lot of that same type of thing applies to entrepreneurship.
Same
Because you
thing.
could be talking to somebody, that's in retail one time. There's times we were talking to people that were heads of divisions and product lines at General Mills. There was times when I'm talking to somebody I meet that's killing it, selling, their product straight vending, on the side of a street corner, right? But I can have all of those conversations.
Right.
And I never even realized and tied it back to the fact that, like, that's the same thing I did at work.
Same
now I'm able to
thing.
do that here through my business.
Right. Same thing. And I tell people a lot of my sales skills, I picked up a lot of sales skills outside of work, but I realized I was then taking back and forth. I was taking things that I learned outside in my masterminds and my communities about sales. I was taking that back to work because you're always selling somebody. You're trying to sell them on your ideal. I'm trying to sell management on this direction that we need to go. So it works. For me, it works hand in hand. So I take a little bit over here.
The
I
personal
bring some of
development piece.
that.
It's impossible for you to develop yourself personally and not take it into every arena.
Every arena. I'm selling them. They were like, man. And one of my managers, they pulled me to the side. They were like, you're so convincing. Oh, everything. I was like, got him.
Like, man,
I
I'm
was
like, CMOS, I say
yeah.
every single day.
I was like, got him. I was like, I'm the conversion king. I'm converting people. I'm selling people through copy, through words, through videos. If I can sell people on that to, get something that they never heard about and introduce it to them to their lives, this work stuff is easy. So it makes it so much easier for me now. Like I go in there now, like, yeah, what's that? Boom, 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 knock that out. I'm quarterbacking. That's all I'm doing. I'm quarterbacking over in my business. I got a team that I quarterback and I provide the strategic plans to and say, hey, let's go in this direction. But I got people doing the graphics. They're doing copy. They're running ads. They're doing all that stuff. And now I turn around and I'm doing the same thing in corporate. Now in this new role, I got a few people assigned to me, but it's easier because now I'm better at delegation.
That's good.
Because I learned that in my business. So I tell people, but at the same time, you can get kind of comfortable too, because you're like, man, I'm over here, I'm over here. But at some point, I know my plan. I'm sticking to my plan. The next step is to get this commercial building. And once I get some things situated with that, I could be like, okay, now I got my ducks in a row so that I can, truly make this transition. But performing at 100% where I'm showing up at, because it's going to show up, because you never know what type of opportunities that you have just in corporate. I got people now when I go, I was doing my annual medical checkup, which is we got a kind of doctor's office in the building. And I was telling her about what I was doing. She was like, oh, I got something where we need you to talk to like 20,000 employees. I was like, so now this is opening up doors that I never thought of, because now I'm doing more podcasts. I'm getting invited for speaking engagements. All of this stuff, I just, keeping that same mindset of saying, hey, let me operate in excellence. But at the same time, I still tell people what I do. Because I'm like, hey, I do this, but hey, I also have a health and wellness business. I've impacted over 20,000 people. They're impressed about it. And I'm like, hey, we can have you do something on the corporate side too. So it's a world of opportunity if you maximize and do what you need to do in both areas.
Okay, so somebody's watching and they're trying to figure out, should I leave? Should I not leave? What should my first steps be? What would you say?
I would say the first thing you need to do is look at your finances, because nobody knows your money like your money. Look at your liabilities, everything that you have, and hey, what do I need to pay to cover me first? Because you need to know that first, because sometimes we can be working these businesses for years and not making no money. And people just think like, hey, I got my business. Are you making money? Do you got profit? That's the main thing. So look at how much you owe on everything and what your liabilities are, and then look at what your business needs to be before you can really walk away? Or what kind of assets can you accrue before you leave? Can you get two cars with your personal credit and put those on Turo and make $500 a piece? You can just start making it happen. I would say that's the first thing, is to look at the money situation. And then the next part is, have a plan. Like, you need to put a date on stuff. I got my date. I got my date and signed and said, hey, by this time, everything should move along. Because I feel when we set a goal, most of the time we move at the pace to where it's set. If I say, hey, I want to leave work at 20:30, no, I'm going to move at that pace. But if I say, hey, no, I need to be up out of here by 2024 at the top of the year, and I sign and date that, I'm committing myself to that, all of my actions start to move towards that date. But yeah, put it on paper. You got to have a plan. You got to say, hey, by this date, I will have this. I got my house. Have you some stuff under your belt before you jump out there. Because trying to get a house and buildings and stuff with a business that has not matured or does not have the profits and revenue yet, you're going to be in trouble.
That's good. I mean, I hope y'all caught that. Like that whole piece about building assets, why you got the job, right? Why you got the stubs, building assets was a major nugget.
Right.
All right. How can people find out more information about you, around the Plant-Based Jeff brand, around the sea moss, and anything else they have?
Well, I'm on all social platforms, so they can reach me anywhere at Plant-Based Jeff, at my website at plantbasedjeff.com. I got something for your viewers as well. If they put in the code TSP, I got a special discount for them. Also, they can find me on Amazon, TikTok, IG. Wherever they are, I am. So anywhere, just Google me.
There we go, right? This dude is everywhere, including in the office, right? He's like literally everywhere. All right, y'all, so make sure you use the promo code TSP. We'll drop the link down below and information about the promo code as well in the show notes, right? Jeff, again, man, thank you for coming through. I appreciate you.
It was a pleasure.
Hey, and I want to tell you, listen, there's so much information out there that's bad information. What I want you to take away from this conversation, what Jeff said, he said, I had to create a plan. And I'm executing the plan I have for me and for my life. Everybody's situation is different. Do not let Black Twitter LLC have you out in these streets, right? In trouble. So y'all, we'll see you in the next episode. Be easy. I hope you enjoyed today's show. We drop new episodes every single week. So make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Enjoy the next episode.